All right, and today, welcome to a new phase of the Z Tradex webinar. We have been working for the past weeks and months on introduction to cryptocurrency, but for the first time this month, October, we're having a look on introduction to the stock market. And here's a lineup of what we'll be talking about. First, we'll be talking about what is a stock market, the stock market participants, and the need to regulate them, as well as the regulatory bodies. Now, what to understand basically is how versatile and how wide the stock market is. And these days, most traders are diversing to cryptocurrency and stock market trading, trading on the likes of Amazon, Boeing aircrafts, Disney, and a host of them like that. So today, chapter one, the beginning, we'll be breaking down what the stock market is all about, the stock market participants, and the need to regulate them, which and also the regulatory bodies of the stock market. So here we go as we begin this very wonderful series, and I need you all to pay rapt attention. And if you have questions, you can always leave us email at akabok.nicholas@ztradex.com, and we're always here to assist you with every question you may have. Next page. Now, investing in equities is very important investment. And in order to generate inflation as well as beating returns, this was the conclusion that we have drawn from the previous chapter. And having said that, how do we go about investing in equities? Clearly, before we dwell further into this topic, it is extremely important to understand the ecosystem in which equities operate. And just like the way we go to the neighborhood Kirana store or supermarket to shop for our daily needs, the same way we go to the stock market to um, to shop for equity investments. Stock market is where everyone who wants to transact in shares usually go to, and they transact in simple terms means buying and selling. And for all practical purposes, you can buy or sell shares of a public company like Info Systems without transacting through the stock market. Now, the main purpose of the stock market is to help you facilitate your transactions. So, if you're a buyer of a share, the stock market helps you meet the seller and vice versa. Now, unlike a supermarket, the stock market does not exist in a brick and mortar form. It exists in electronic form, and you can access the market electronically from your computer, and also you can, go about conducting your transactions, buying and selling of shares. Also, it is important to know that you can access the stock market via a registered intermediary called the stockbroker. Now, we will discuss more about the stockbrokers at a later point, but first, there are two main stock exchanges in India that make up the stock markets. And the first is the Bombay Stock Exchange and the National Stock Exchange NSE. And beside these two exchanges, there are a bunch of other regional stock exchanges like the Bangalore Stock Exchange as well as the Madras Stock Exchange that are more or less getting phased out and don't really play any meaningful role anymore. And we can also diversify and know more and more of the stock market exchanges. Next page, because it is very important for us to have them at our fingertips so that we know what stock exchanges and in case you have regulatory issues, opening a stock brokerage company is important to understand this. Now, the stock market attracts individuals and corporations from diverse backgrounds, and anyone who transacts in the stock market is called a market participant. And the market participant can be classified into various categories. Some of the categories of market participants are as follows. First, we have the domestic retail participants, and these are people like you and me, who are transacting in markets. Then we also have the NRIs and OCI, and these are people of Indian origin, but based outside of India. And three, we have domestic institutions, and these are large corporate entities based in India. Classic example would be the LIC of India. And the four is the domestic asset management companies. The typical participant in this category would be the mutual fund companies such as SB Mutual Fund, DSP BlackRock, and Fidelity Investments, HDFC, AMC, etc. like that. Now, foreign institutional investors, we have non-Indian corporate entities. These could be foreign asset management companies, hedge funds, and other investors like that. Next page. Next page. Now, irrespective of the category of market participant, the agenda for everyone is actually the same, which is to make profitable transactions more bluntly, as well as put to make money. But then, when money is involved, human emotions in the form of greed and fear run on a very high note. And one can easily fall prey to these emotions and get involved in unfair practices. India has its fair share of such twisted practices, and thanks to the operations of Harshad Mehta and the likes. But given this, the stock market needs someone who can set the rules of the game, commonly referred to as regulation and compliance, and ensure that people adhere to these regulations and compliance, thereby making the market level playing field for everyone. Next page. The regulatory bodies. Now, importantly, in India, the first stock exchange regulatory is called the Securities and Exchange Board of India, often referred to as SEBI. And the objective of SEBI was to promote the development of stock exchanges, to protect the interests of retail investors, to regulate the activities of market participants and financial intermediaries. And in general, SEBI ensures, one of which is the stock exchange, BSE and SAE conducts to business fairly. Two will be the stockbrokers and sub-brokers conduct their business fairly. And three will be the participants don't get involved in unfair practices. And four is that the corporates don't use the market to unduly benefit themselves. But example would be the Satan computers, and same retail investors' interests are protected. Now we have large investors with huge cash pile. We should not manipulate the markets, but overall development of markets. Now, given the above objective, it becomes imperative for SEBI to regulate the following entities. All the entities mentioned below in Table 2.1 are directly involved in the stock markets, while a malpractice by any one of the following entities can disrupt which what is otherwise a harmonious market in India. But SEBI has prescribed a set of rules and regulation to each one of these entities, and the entity should operate within the legal framework as prescribed by SEBI. And the specific rules applicable to a specific entity are made available by SEBI on their website. Of course, they are published under the legal framework section of their site. Next page. Next page. Now we are here with various regulations in India, and here's a table having the entity, example of companies, what they do, and in simpler words to explain what they do. So I'll just be mute for some time while we just gradually take a look at it for the perfect understanding. So now the importantly, there are key takeaways that we need to take understand from this chapter at first, and the first will be one, that the stock market is the place to go to if you want to transact in equities. And number two will be that stock market exists electronically and can be accessed through a stockbroker. Number three will be that there are different kinds of market participants operating in the stock markets. And number four will be that every entity operating in this market has to be regulated. and they can operate only within the framework as prescribed by the regulator. And SEBI is the regulator of the securities market in India. They set the legal framework and regulate all entities interested in operating in the market. Most importantly, you need to remember that SEBI is aware of what you're doing and they can flag you down if you're up to something fishy in the markets. And that is be our end of today on chapter one. And of course, we have a long line of chapters for you to better understand the stock market. These just being the first. I hope we are able to get some key points as we are with chapter two, chapter three, and more chapters from this important aspect of forex trading. See you guys again next week.